So, Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 3, Battle of Winterfell. Now, while I did think there was some interesting stuff going on in this episode, I thought there were a lot of really great moments. I think some of the lighting was really cool. Some of the ways they used shadow towards the beginning of the episode was great. The overwhelming sense of dread that the walkers created is unmatched by a lot of other kinds of media. I'm kind of left disappointed by this episode. When you look at other big battle episodes of Game of Thrones, like the Battle of the Bastards or Blackwater, Hardhome, they all feel a lot more coherent than this one did. You know, there's always something happening with the characters in those episodes, or something to ratchet up the tension, or something. I felt like a lot of this episode was kind of just blank. There's a lot of dead space being taken up, and I wonder if it was better to have made this just a regular 60-minute episode as opposed to 80. Because there's just a lot of this just like quick cutting to people dying and fighting, and while that can be fun for a while, there's just way too much of it here. Like, I want to see these characters go through this battle, and I felt like I didn't get a whole lot of certain characters that I wanted to see. Like, where was Jaime? And where was Brienne? Like, they're in the front lines of the battle, and I feel like I didn't get any real moments with them. You know, especially after seeing something like Endgame, that does such a great job of juggling all of these different characters and storylines and making it feel like every second counts, every little thing is paid off and is worth showing. This episode just feels like really padded. And this sucks. I mean, this is the battle I've been waiting for since I started watching the show, and the fact that this is kind of a lukewarm reception kind of sucks. But I do think there is still a lot of good stuff to like in this episode. When it does slow down and focus on certain characters, it's a lot better. Everything dealing with Arya and the Hound is great. The moments that Theon gets are super satisfying. When there are moments like the Night King rising all of the dead and the Dothraki just kind of fading out, all their like fire swords that Melisandre gives them, like, that's a great moment that creates fear. The fact that they're all covered in shadow is super incredible. The fact that the screen tends to like be covered with fog and snow, it creates this sense of chaos in a way that a lot of other battle scenes don't. That I can justify it feeling kind of blank when it does create the sense of chaos and not knowing what's going on and not being able to see or anything. I think that stuff is great. There's just a little too much of it. Speaking of Melisandre, every scene with her in it is great and puts a nice period on the character. When she lights up the swords, great. The final little conversation she has with Davos, great. I'm blanking on the line. Oh, the little conversation with Arya where she goes, what do we say to the God of Death, is awesome. That's great. That's incredible. And then when she finally, like, just walks out to her death because she knows that her job is done, that's a really powerful way to send off that character. The way Theon goes out, great. The way he goes out fighting. The moment where Bran turns to him and says that you're a good man, thank you. That's just... Theon is a great character. Obviously seeing him rise, fall, rise again has been one of the better arcs of the entire series. And that's all he wanted, was just for the Starks to accept him again. And since he was able to get everyone on board, except Arya, I don't think he talked with Arya, but like, the fact that Bran tells him he's a good man is and then him charging to his death to defend him is a nice send-off for him, just like it was for Melisandre. I think it was, deeply heartbreaking to see him go out the way he did, but it made sense, and I think the character was wrapped up really well. Jorah going out defending Daenerys, that's the only way this character could have gone out. Beric, he's just kind of he's not that important of a character or an interesting of a character, so, I mean, that death wasn't as impactful, but, whatever. Lyanna Mormont taking out the giant. Oh my god. I will say, everything leading up to that scene was making me, super pissed how they were about to do Lyanna. If she was about to be dead after the giant just freaking slapped her across the yard, I would have been pissed. And, her just dying by the giant killing her, I would have been super upset. The fact that she kills the giant, great. That's a great way for Lyanna Mormont to go out. Fucking respect. I love Lyanna Mormont, and she fucking fought and was as fucking feisty as ever in her last moments. Fuck yeah, Lyanna Mormont. But that covers, I believe, pretty much all of the major deaths. And I think that's one of the problems with this episode. Game of Thrones and its fans have prided themselves on this being a show that will break your heart and will kill people in an instant and that no one is safe. The fact that so many people on the front line, pretty much everyone on the front line, except for Jorah, makes it out. Which is kind of fucking bullshit, if you ask me. 'Cause, you see that giant horde of White Walkers coming at everyone and just completely engrossing them and decimating them. And, no major character dies from that. That's not good. That's not good, especially for this show. Out of these pairs, I think Brienne or Jaime should have died. I think the Hound or Arya should have died. Probably the Hound because... And we'll get back to my complaints with that, but, holy fuck. Like I said, there are moments in this episode that are great. The moment that Arya kills the Night King is fantastic. Oh my god. That was so good. You think she's beaten, you just see her, come out of the mist. She gets grabbed, and then the frickin' dropping the knife and then stabbing him. Oh my god. It's fantastic. I will say I wish I would have liked a little more build-up, her running up or something. It's kind of out of nowhere, but, still, good moment. Which was done a little bit better. All the dragons are taken out, which I guess is nice, because that means that this battle with Cersei that's probably about to come up is going to be a lot more high stakes and tension-filled, considering that Daenerys can't just come fly in on her dragons or anything like that. But I don't feel like bigger characters like that were given a whole lot to do. Like I said earlier, Brienne and Jaime are essentially almost non-existent in this episode, except to, be set dressing. Jon and Daenerys just kind of fight a little bit and then they go down. Arya and, everyone involved in that little, section, Arya, the Hound, Beric, Theon, Bran, and where they all end up, that's kind of the meat of the episode. And everyone else is just kind of left by the wayside. Except for the people in the crypts. The stuff with Sansa and Tyrion is fantastic. The moment where Tyrion just wants to go up and fight, but Sansa knows that, he'll just get in the way. In fact, he just, takes a drink when he knows that it's coming for them. The moment where they're hiding behind that coffin and just kind of giving this look of just, we're about to die to each other is really moving. I teared up at that moment, especially. That was the moment that really got me in this episode. Because those are two characters I absolutely love. Sansa has become one of my favorites. Tyrion's been one of my favorites since the beginning. And this, yeah, I mean, it seemed like they were about to kill themselves. And I'm glad they did it, because especially with how it ends, but like, yeah, that was also really well done and really well acted by the both of them. I feel like this is an 80-minute episode, and the fact that that's all I can really talk about, and I feel like it's lacking, says a lot. And why I'm kind of down on this episode. Like, I felt like last episode, that like each scene had something of substance, and I do not think that happened in this episode. There are moments, but I feel like they're too few and far between. There's too many scenes of just people fighting, and it's not nearly well choreographed enough for me to be interested in it. There's not enough going on character-wise in it, especially with the fact that, once again, like, barely anyone dies in this episode. There's, like, 1 or 2 major deaths, which even then, major is going a little too far, which are, like, Melisandre and Theon, who are, like, Melisandre I wouldn't say is as major, she's more of a minor character, but, like, the fact that only one truly, like, major main character that we've been following through the whole show died in this episode is kind of upsetting, especially considering all of the hype leading up to this episode. It sucks saying this. Like, I wanted this episode to be the greatest thing ever, especially after seeing Endgame and being super hyped after that, seeing how well that handled all these great moments and moments of, like, desperation, but also victory. You know, it kind of makes the rest of the season, at least for right now, I could change my tune once I see that next episode, but, it makes this season kind of a bummer. I feel like they fumbled the ball at the goal line. You just can't have this overwhelming threat since the beginning of the show that it's going to kill everyone. And even in the episode, it feels like that. There's so many moments where it feels like everyone will die. These people will be decimated by the White Walkers. And then the fact that just no one is given that moment of sacrifice or death or anything is really upsetting. I thought how this show was going to end, or like what the main theme of the show is, that there's this threat coming, which a lot of people have translated to be global warming. And I thought that was a good way to read it. I thought it made sense for most of it. I thought the reason that Jon Snow was the hero of the show was because he doesn't care about this fucking game. Everyone that plays this game is just making it worse and is going to make it so that we lose this fight. And, it seems like after this episode that that's not what this show is. And I just need to find something to latch on for an overarching theme of the show, because now that's gone. Now the game is actually what matters, and this whole White Walker thing is kind of fucking meaningless. Which is the last thing I wanted. I mean, I wanted this show to have impact. Because it's had impact so many times before. More people needed to die in this episode. And, you know, I just don't think that they handled it adequately. I think it just was looking to make sure that your favorite characters stay alive. Which sucks, once again, because, like, the last episode made it seem like all of them were gonna die. And, you know, it's the worst kind of, because you're set up for it and there's no payoff for it. So yeah. Overall, very disappointed with the episode. I think it undercuts a lot of what the show has been doing for 7 seasons. Yeah, guys, this sucks. It really does. I don't think the show's bad. I still love the show a lot. I'm a huge fan of it. I think a lot of what it does is great. I'm still gonna love it no matter what. and realize that there's a lot of great things going on throughout all of it. But it undercuts a lot of what the show's themes were and what it was going for, I think, for most of it. But then again, maybe these next 3 episodes change that for me. I hope so. I want to love Game of Thrones. This episode just didn't do it for me. So yeah. I don't have too much to say. I know I've rambled a little bit about how much I'm not a huge fan of this episode. Like I said, I do have some positives. Like, I think Arya killing the Night King is great. The scene where her and the Hound and Beric are like running through Winterfell is great. Stuff with Theon is really good. The way they set up the White Walkers at the beginning is really good. The way they're all masked in shadow, you can't see them, is great. And I wish that they set up a lot of ways that the lighting could actually let us see what's going on in this battle. But like, for half the time, you can't tell what's going on. It's cutting too quickly. It's too dim. There's too much fog all over the place. And I get that, once again, they want to create the sense of chaos, but I also need to know what the fuck is going on. And I didn't. So, it's kind of a problem. So yeah, I'm really sorry. This is not the reaction I wanted to be having. I wanted to be as high on this as I was on Endgame when I walked out of that. And, or at least just like keep this good feeling that I had about this season going. I mean, like you guys heard last week, I thought last week's episode was one of the best of the entire series, and I thought it was gonna keep going for the rest of the season, but apparently not, which is upsetting because I thought if they stick the landing on this, I was about to consider this like maybe the best TV show that's ever been made. But the fact that they fumbled this doesn't do that. And I hate to be like so negative on it. And maybe if I watch it again without all this hype and build up and everything, it'll be more satisfying when I'm not expecting as much of it. But I'm really left with this feeling of disappointment. So yeah, that's all I got. What did you guys think of it? Am I full of shit? And it was actually the greatest thing you've ever seen? Let me know down in the comments and why you liked it. I think what's going to be interesting about this is I think it's actually going to divide a lot of people. At least hopefully. I hope there's a discussion about this episode because I think it combines a lot of what's great about Game of Thrones, but also what's been lacking from Game of Thrones these last couple of seasons. Like, I think Season 7 and Season 8 in particular have dropped the ball with these battle sequences, especially when you see such great battle sequences in the past, like Hardhome or Blackwater or Battle of the Bastards. Like, I think all those are incredibly well done, but then this kind of wasn't. I know that's a little too long for what I was trying to do, but yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys thought, and if you want to tell me how wrong I am, follow me on my Twitter and Instagram accounts, which I will have links for down in the description. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, even though, once again, I just railed on this episode. Even though I think it's okay. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's okay, but like, it left a lot to be desired for me. But I'll see you next week with episode 4. And I know I promised you guys a spoiler review of Endgame when I put out my spoiler-free review, but I want to see that movie again before I do a spoiler review of it. And I had tickets for Friday, 3 o'clock, IMAX 3D. I was at the theater, but the power went out, and I wasn't able to see it. And I don't know if you guys have known this, but this movie's pretty popular. It's made a lot of money so far, and I have not been able to get a ticket for the rest of the weekend. So it may take a little while before I get that to you, but rest assured, I am working on it. I am going to get it out. It's just a matter of when I get to see this movie again.